Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear testimony of civil party through TCCP 274 in relation to the regulation on marriage. And after, we'll hear testimony of another civil party, that is through TCCP 224. Ms. Ji Si-Huang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Gracias, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nguyen Chi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to conclude her testimony today, that is to TCCP 274, is in the courtroom. And the upcoming civil party, namely to TCCP 224, is waiting in the room downstairs. President, the Chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chi. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chi, dated 23rd August 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requires to waive his rights to be present at the 23rd August 2016 hearing. He advises that his counsel advised him about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented to or admitted by this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chi by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 23rd August 2016, which notes that Nguyen Chi has back pain and feels dizzy when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chi can follow. That applies for the whole day. And the chamber now hands the floor to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to put further questions to the civil party. You may proceed. Hong Kam Soon. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, Madam Civil Party. I'll continue from where we left off yesterday, that is in relation to the wedding ceremony, where you were married to your husband. Yesterday, I questioned you about the electricity, whether it was used during the night time. And yesterday you said that you were informed about your proposed marriage on the same day that you got married. Can you tell the chamber before the day of your marriage, either it's a day or two before or a week earlier, were you ever told about the arrangement for you to get married, or about anyone in your unit to get married? Answer. One day before the wedding day, I was told that I was proposed, and on the day itself, the man was not the one that proposed to me. It was another man. Question. You said you were initially informed about that you were proposed by someone. What was the name of that man? President, Madam Sivapati, please observe the microphone. You should speak only when you see the red light on the tip. Answer. At that time, he was known as Pon. When he came to visit me, he noticed me and he proposed to me. However, on the day that I got married, it was another man. Question. Can you tell the chamber the name again of the name of the man that got married with you on that day? Answer. His name was Nguyen. Question. And on the night of the wedding, did Onka or the organizer of the wedding ceremony allowed you to return to your unit? Answer. No, I was not. I was instructed to stay there. You mean you were instructed to stay there? Where was the place? Answer. It was at the Munti Knong. Question. And on the night of the wedding, were you given any instruction what you should do, or whether you had to consummate your marriage? And we were invited to stay in a room, so I entered the room and rested there. Question. What about other newlywed couples? And they stayed in different rooms. Question. Once again, Madam Sivapati, were you given any instruction to consummate the marriage that night? And I was not instructed anything. However, when I entered the room, my husband was there. Question. And during the first night that you stayed together, what did your husband do? Did he make an advancement and tries to consummate the marriage? Answer. At that time we didn't talk much. He just slept with me. I was afraid. I resisted his advance. He was upset, so he went out of the room and informed his military commander. Question. Why did you resist your husband that night? Answer. Because I disliked him and he didn't try to console me or to comfort me at all. He simply wanted to have sex with me. Question. You said that you resisted and then your husband left the room. Where did he go to? he went to report the matter to his chief. Question, and what was the name of the chief? Answer, he was known as Comrade Pan. Question, and that night, can you tell the chamber when, if you actually consummated the marriage? Answer, no, not that night. Question, how did you know that your husband made such a complaint to his superior, Comrade Pan? Answer, he complains that I did not consummate the marriage with him. Then Comrade Pan called me to see him. Question, and when did that happen? Answer, it was that night that I was called. Question, where did Comrade Pan ask you to go and see him, and what did he tell you? Answer, I was called to a room by myself, and when I was in the room I was questioned why I didn't consent to have sex with my husband. The husband was there. He simply forced upon me and raped me in that very room. Question, you spoke about the fact that you were raped. Who actually raped you? Was it Comrade Pan or was it your husband? Answer, it was Comrade Pan. Question, what did he say before he actually raped you? Answer, he said that if he raped me and I shouted, then I would be shot dead. And after that warning, after the rape, that I had to shut my mouth and that I had to agree to live with my newly married husband. Question, and a moment prior to his rape, what did he actually tell you, and that you still continued to resist him? Answer, he used strong words, military types of words on me, and I didn't dare to protest. I had to bit my mouth, bit my lip, and set my teeth, but I didn't dare to make any noise because I was afraid that I would be killed if I made any noise. Question, if you were to object, you were afraid that you would be killed, were there any prior instances where you saw such cases? Answer, I had a cousin named Heng Vanni alias Ruan. She was forced to marry a husband. She refused it for 1 or 2 times, and she was taken away and killed. And in the afternoon of the day she was killed, I noticed that somebody was wearing her shirt, because I noticed that her name tag was on that shirt. Question, so during the Democratic Cambodia regime, you had a relative who was killed because he refused to get married. Is that correct? Answer: yes. Question: after you were threatened and resulted in you being raped, did you return to live with your husband? And did you continue to live with your husband? And if so, where? Answer: he remained in the military unit while I was transferred back to my old civilian Unit 7. Question: did you later come to live together? Answer: between 10 to 15 days we were allowed to meet each other. Question: and when you met each other during that allowed period, did you consummate the marriage? Answer: yes, we did. I was afraid that I was being monitored, because when we came there were 7 or 8 others who also came, and I was afraid that I was being monitored. Question: does it mean that when your husband came to live with you that you too were under monitoring? Answer: they came to work in that office, and at night times the guards monitored us, and if we did not consummate our marriage, then measures would be taken. And for that reason, I agreed to sleep with my husband, because during the night time I went downstairs, I went out the house to relieve myself, and I noticed that there were militiamen there. Question: how many times did you or were you allowed to meet with your husband? Answer: every time he came to see me, then we had sex, but I did not really feel that it was a husband and wife relationship. My husband did what he wanted to do. Question: during the period that you were in the relationship with that husband, did you bear any child? Answer: yes, I did. In early 1978, I had a child, and the child was born in late 78. Question: when did you become pregnant? Answer: I cannot recall that, because it was difficult to know what day it was. I knew that I became pregnant either in 77 or 78, and the child was born in 1978, that is in late 1978. But I cannot give you the exact date. Question: after you became pregnant, did you have morning sickness like normally it happens to other pregnant women? Answer: yes, it started since I was 1 month pregnant. I became fatigued. I felt so exhausted. Sometimes while I was working, I felt dizzy, so I had to get hold of a tree. While I was working in the rubber plantation, and I had to find other things to eat because I could not eat the given rice. And the child did not move much during my pregnancy. Question: and when you had morning sickness, did you receive any supplementary food? Answer: no, there wasn't any. I would be glad enough to have a sufficient gruel to eat. Question: you said that you were 7 months pregnant and you didn't feel the movement of your fetus. Am I correct in understanding this? Answer: yes. I did not feel the movement. I was sent to a hospital for a check-up, and I was told that the baby was very weak. Question: were you allowed to take some time off during your later pregnancy? Answer: no, I was not. And if I could not work, they would mark that I was absent for laziness. So I had to try my best to work, to tap the rubber from the rubber plantation. Question: during your pregnancy, was your husband aware of that? And if so, did he try to find any supplementary food or fruit for you to eat? Answer: there wasn't any supplementary food or cake or anything. And my husband was living separately from me. And only after I delivered my baby, he was allowed to come and visit me and my baby for a day or two. Question: during your delivery, did you deliver your baby at your house or in a cooperative or at a hospital? Were you assisted by a midwife? Answer: after I delivered a baby, there was a medic who sent me to rest on a bed. It was an ordinary bed, and then a fire was built underneath, and I had to warm myself up on that bed. Nobody else came to assist me. Question: did you deliver your baby in a hospital? And if so, what kind of hospital? Were you provided with a proper bedding, with a proper medicine? Answer: there was this so-called serum in an orange bottle, and I was injected with that serum, and the pills that I received were rapid drop-like pills. At the hospital, it was kind of makeshift cottage where they store a corn. Question: what about your newly born child? Was the child healthy? Was the weight sufficient for a newly delivered baby? Answer: The baby was so small. However, at the time there was no scale to weigh the baby, and nobody came to look after me. Question: during your child delivery, were you given material or cloth to wrap your baby or to clean the blood, or were you given this facility to aid you during your delivery? Answer: no, there wasn't. I was not given any cotton. And as for the clothes to wrap my baby, I actually got it when I requested to go to visit my home before the delivery, because at that time clothing was so scarce. Question: and after the baby delivery, how was your health and the health of your baby? Answer: the baby was not in good health, and I myself did not have breast milk to feed due to the lack of food. However, the baby tries to drink the little milk that I had. Question: and when did your husband come to visit you? Answer: he came to visit me at the unit at where I delivered the baby. He was so busy with his unit. However, he came to visit me and he bought me some traditional medicine for me to drink. Question: how many days were you allowed to rest after you delivered your baby? Answer: I was allowed to rest for a week or a fortnight. Then I was allowed to clear weeds, and I had to take my baby with me while I was working. Question: did you continue to live as a husband and wife with your husband until the fall of the decay regime in 79? Answer: no. When they came into Chamkale district, we fled separately. I fled to Kampong Thom province, and when a tractor came to Chamkale, I did not see my husband, so I boarded at the back of the tractor and left. And only 3 years later, I met him. Question: you said that when they came to the area, whom are you referring to? Answer: when Vietnamese entered Cambodia, they came along with tanks, and we were fleeing to Kampong Thom province. I was with my baby, and my husband was carrying some belongings, and then we separated from one another during that journey. The Vietnamese troops came with some vehicles and tanks, and that happened in late 78 or early 79.
You said that you separated each other first and later on you reunited. So how long it was before you became reunited? Answer: it was for about 3 years before we reunited. Question: you said earlier that during the marriage you did not love him, but why after the Vietnamese entered Cambodia and then he came back to you and you accepted him? Answer: my parents and the elders in the village tried to convince me to accept him. Question: because you survive until now, do you have anything that make you feel happy again or refresh your life? Answer: after we met each other again, I did not feel any happy because I was busy raising my child up. But recently, my life became revitalized again because my child has grown up and the organization has helped me with the psychology. Mr. President, I have no more question to put to this civil party president. The floor is given to the lead co-lawyer for civil party, the international side.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. I have 3 follow-up questions, in fact, and then I will give the floor to the co-prosecutors. Good morning, civil party. You said yesterday afternoon, just before the end of the hearing, that your husband was someone who was ugly, and that's what we heard in French. Was your husband a soldier?
At that time, they did not call a soldier, they called military. He had an ugly appearance with big eyes. I did not love him. Because he was not familiar to me.
You said yesterday that he spoke with an accent. What kind of accent? What was your husband's origin?
He was ethnic Khmer, but he came from the upper region and he spoke with an accent similar to the ethnic Khoi.
Was your husband handicapped in any way, independently from the fact that he wasn't very good looking? Was he suffering from any kind of physical handicap?
He had poor eyesight and his limbs was not proper and he could not walk properly like us.
Had he been wounded in fighting, or was he someone who was disabled at birth? Did you know that?
He was at the battlefield, but I did not ask him whether he had any injury. So I had no knowledge about whether he had injury or not because I never asked him about that.
Thank you. This morning you spoke about rapes. A rape apparently that you were a victim of. This is the first time you're speaking about rape. You did not speak about rape in the documents that you filed before this court to join as a civil party. So then can you tell the court why you are only speaking about these instances of rape today?
I did not include that point, but because it just came to my mind now, so I would like to add that point in.
Did I understand your testimony this morning properly by telling you that you were a victim of 2 instances of rape? The first from Pan, who is also the person who chaired the wedding ceremony, and another rape caused by Lum, with whom you were married. So did I understand your testimony this morning properly?
Yes.
And just to be sure about this civil party, when you speak about your husband raping you, when did this rape take place?
After Pant raped me, and when I returned back to my unit, and about 10 to 15 days later, we were allowed to meet each other, and that happened.
Thank you, civil party. I have no further questions, Mr. President.
President, next I give the floor to the co-prosecutor to put question to the civil party.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam Civil Party. I wanted to ask a few follow-up questions first about the unit that you worked for during the regime. You stated yesterday that you were in the Union or Village 7 in Chamkarlu district. When you say you were in the Union, were you a worker at a rubber plantation?
At that place, they did not call us workers. They call us unionists of the rubber plantation.
And the rubber plantation, was this the zone rubber plantation at Chamkar Andong?
It was the part of the Chamkar Andong.
Did you know who the chairman of that rubber plantation was?
The chief of the rubber plantation was Chiang Seng. And for the person in charge of the Munti Knong was called Tasat. So I knew only that he was in charge of Munti Knong, but what else related to him, I had no knowledge.
Did you, Madam Civil Party, did you ever hear of a person named Tachim who had come from the southwest zone and was assigned to take charge of the zone rubber plantations?
After Tasat disappeared, Tachim who came from the east. He came to take in charge of the place.
And do you remember what year it was that Tachim came to take control of the place?
I cannot recall it well. It was probably in 1977 or 78. It was probably around that year. He came to control that place, but I cannot recall it well. It was almost the time when the Vietnamese entered Cambodia. Just a few months before the Vietnamese entered Cambodia.
And let me ask you a few follow-up questions about the man you were forced to marry. You've indicated he was in the military. Do you know whether his military unit was part of the zone, sector, or district military?
It was the branch of the military, and that group consisted of many people which were based at the rubber plantation, and those group of people were called military based at the rubber plantation.
And do you know why there was a military unit based at the rubber plantation?
I don't know about their specific name, but people refer to them as the military based at the rubber plantation. In Chamkale district and of region 304, there's a military unit, and that military unit was relatively big.
Thank you, Madame Civil Party. You mentioned this morning your cousin, Heng Vani, and how she was taken away and killed after she refused to marry. Can you just clarify for us, your cousin Heng Vani, was it before you were married that this happened to her, or was it after your marriage that this happened to your cousin?
Before our marriage, Dani told me that her mother was taken away to be killed because she was accused of being network of the enemy, and then she was arranged to get married, but she refused, and then she was taken away, and a few days later we realized that she was taken away to be killed.
And did your cousin Heng Vani, did she live in the same village and unit as you?
She was not with me. She was in a different village, but we were close to each other. The village were close to each other, so we saw each other often. And she came to leave her luggage with me, and then later on she took her belonging away with her.
The last subject I want to ask you about, Madam Civil Party, is some other relatives of yours who you identify in your civil party application, who you say were arrested and killed during the Khmer Rouge regime. Specifically, in your supplementary information form that you signed on the 28th of May 2014, document E3/6011A, you wrote the following, quote, "My aunt Sam Yun, Heng Run, her son-in-law, Heng Van Na, and her grandchild San were all imprisoned in Tuol Sleng prison or Cheng Ek prison, where all of them were killed." End of quote. Can you tell us how you came to know that these relatives of yours were imprisoned at Tuol Sleng?
I did not know clearly about the imprisonment at Tuol Sleng, but I heard from people that if people were taken to Phnom Penh, they would be imprisoned and die there. And the whole family died in Phnom Penh. But when I came to Phnom Penh, I came to Tuol Sleng, I did not find them because I simply visited the ground floor of the Tuol Sleng prisons building. I did not go up to the upper floor of the buildings.
Thank you, Madam Civil Party. I found two names in the OCIJ S21 list. This is E3/10-604. Two names that seem to match the names that you've provided. Your Honors, number 8,467, 8467 on the OCIJ list is a 54-year-old female, Sam Yun, from the State Industry Ministry, who entered S21 on the 12th of February 1978 and was executed on 11 May 1978. She is described as follows, quote, lives with her child in Rusay Kao Technical School, coming with her daughter Heng Na, who lived in Rusay Kao Technical School. And number 1947 on the OCIJ list is Heng Na, alias Yin, who also entered S21 on the same date, the 12th of February 1978, and is described as a combatant of production at the Rusay Kao Technical School. Madam Civil Party, with your leave, Mr. President, I'd like to show you the underlying, or one of the underlying contemporaneous S21 records for these two people, to have you confirm whether these are, in fact, two of your relatives. Mr. President, I'd like to provide to the witness, to the Civil Party, document E3/10450, E3-10450, which is a S21 list of people entering on the 12th of February 1978.
President, court officer, please bring the document to be shown to the civil party and read them to her because she cannot read.
And for the record, the two names it's the first page of this list that I want to ask you about. The first page of E3 10450 contains the names of two people who entered S21 on 12 February 1978, Sam Yun and Heng Na. Do you recognize these two people, Madam Civil Party? Are these two of the relatives of yours who you identified in your supplementary information form?
Yes, that was the names.
Your aunt, Sam Yun, can you tell us a little bit about her, what she did before and during the Khmer Rouge regime?
During the old regime in Chamkala district, she remained working in Chamkala district, and then in 1975 she got separated from us, and since then she disappeared. Later on, the whole family of my aunt disappeared. She began working in 1970-71, and then in 1975 she relocated to work in Phnom Penh. I heard sometimes she talk about her relationship with Khieu Samphan.
What did she say about her relationship with Khieu Samphan?
I did not know clearly, but she told me that in 1972, Khieu Samphan came to a meeting at Popring Pagoda, and everyone were called to that meeting, and there was around 500 to 600 people attended the meeting at Popring Pagoda in 1972.
And did your aunt have a position in the Khmer Rouge while she was still in Chamkarlu district? That is, before she went to Phnom Penh? And if so, can you tell us what her position was in Chamkarlu district?
Initially, she worked secretly, and that started since 1967. But I did not know clearly about what she was actually doing. But I heard from her about her relationship with Khieu Samphan. And then later on, she was relocated to work in Phnom Penh, and I did not know which part of Phnom Penh she worked because we had lost contact with each other since then.
And do I understand correctly, was it when the Khmer Rouge took control of Phnom Penh in April 1975, was that when your aunt went to work in Phnom Penh?
Yes, it was around that time. Because it happened a long time ago, I may not recall it well.
Thank you, Madame Civil Party. My colleague has a few follow-up questions for you as well.
Good morning, Mr. President and parties and the bench. My name is Seng Liang, the National Deputy Co-Prosecutor. I have only a few questions to put to you, Madam Civil Party. This morning you talked about your aunt and your cousin and a number of your relatives who were killed. So besides your aunt and the relative that you mentioned, were there any other relatives of yours who were also killed during the regime? Answer. My brother also disappeared. My nephew also disappeared. I do not know whether he was killed or not. Question. Do you have a sister named Vươn? Answer. In fact, Nguyen and Ni were the same person. Question. I have another question related to your life. At the place that you mentioned, Union Village 7, was life there easy or difficult? Answer. It was difficult because we lived in a shelter. The shelters were small, similar to the shelter that farmers build to guard their paddy fields. Life was very difficult. It's different from life nowadays because during the regime they gave us food only when we went out to work. If we did not go out to work, they would not give us food and they would take us away to be killed. Question. Talking about your time shift, so when did you begin to work and when you end your work? Answer. We got up at 3 a.m. to tape the rubber resin, and then in the morning we clean the rubbish at the resin building, and then at 10 a.m. we collected the resin, and then we waited for the truck to come to load the resin onto the truck, and then it's time for lunch. Question. You said that during that time you were pregnant and you were required to work. You could not take time to rest. Why couldn't you ask for a rest time? Answer. I asked for resting time, but they did not allow. Only when I delivered the baby, they allowed me to take leave for about 10 to 15 days, and then I was required to go back to work.
So did you ask for permission to rest, but it was denied? Answer. I was allowed to rest a few days before the delivery of my baby, and after the delivery I was allowed to rest for 10 to 15 days. Question. I refer to the time that you were 7 months pregnant and that you did not feel for the movement of your baby, but you are allowed to rest at that particular point in time. Answer. I actually asked for permission to rest, but it was denied, so I had to continue working. I was not allowed to rest at all, and only when it was almost the day of the delivery, I was allowed to rest for a few days. Prosecutor, thank you, Madam Civil Party, for answering my question, and Mr. President, I am done. President, thank you. The chamber will take a 20-minute break from now.